let me just get started, so it'll take the whole time. Okay, so I'm very nervous to talk about this because it's like, yeah, it's something very personal to me, and a couple people know about it, but not everybody. So, I always believed in God, but I never had a relationship with Jesus before. And so, honestly, my life before Christ, it was very, I was just very sad. I was very depressed. All I wanted to do was really sleep, so I didn't have to think about life. And honestly, I cannot believe I'm about to say this. Honestly, the reason that I was just so upset was because I was just questioning, do I like boys or do I like girls? And it was a really hard time for my life, and I know that the Bible goes against that, but that's not necessarily what I was worried about. I just wanted all the thoughts to go away, and it just turned into I just got used to it. I eventually just you know what, my life's going to be like this forever, so I just got used to it. And it was sad. Like I said, all I did was really just sleep, didn't have to think about anything. And so, like I said, this was started in August, and it was went through December, and I was just used to it by then. And so, one day, how I met Christ, I wasn't in a near-death experience or nothing. I met Christ through the Bible. I made the decision to start reading my Bible every single night, and I read it for maybe just 5 minutes and changed my life completely because I'm here now. My life in Christ now, it's not perfect. It's definitely still messy. But I know that I have eternity with Christ in heaven, and that's all that really matters to me. I still have troubles because I know that God's building me up in the way He needs to. But my life in Christ, I can say, is much better than it was before. But not always. But yeah, that.
I just wanted to share my testimony. So, before Christ, I wasn't a bad kid, I was just little Hannah, teacher's pet, just normal. And the first time I ever really heard about being saved, I didn't even know what it was. I was at our big church, and there was some magician there. I don't know if any of you guys remember that, but there was some magician there. Him. And so we were just praying, and little me zoned out during the prayer, and then he said something about being saved, and I was just I don't know what that is. And so I, little shy, raised my hand while everybody had their eyes closed, and I went back and talked to Miss Jennifer, and she showed me the little picture that most everybody gets shown when they're getting talked about being saved. The little stick man, death, Jesus is the bridge. And so I was just yeah, sure, let me get saved so that I can be saved forever and I can go to heaven, because I didn't really understand it at the time. So fast forward, we're going into middle school, and it was a hard time for me. I definitely was my 7th grade year, I don't know why, it just was not good for me. In 8th grade, I remember just feeling empty and sad, not sad, but I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel happy. I didn't really feel sad. But then one night, so who was here? I can't remember. There's a preacher here, and I just felt so convicted that I needed to get saved right then, because he was talking about it, and I was just man, I don't really felt like I meant that. I just wanted to get saved so I can be good, and I didn't really understand it. And I was able to have years where since I learned about being saved, I had years to learn and grow, and I was just all right, I want to get saved. And I remember going back and saying the prayer, and that was just amazing, and it felt great. It felt like a big weight had been lifted off of my chest. And now, in Christ, my life isn't perfect. I'm going through valleys. I'm climbing up mountains, and it's just a big mess, but I know that I'm going to be able to get through it now because I have Christ.
I had this written out in my notes. Oh gosh. Is there an echo in here?
Am I good? Can y'all, am I too loud or anything? Okay. Well, my life before Christ, like I said earlier, it just kind of felt pointless. Like, looking back on it, I thought I was happy, and I thought I had joy, and I thought everything was just like fine. But looking back on it, everything seemed just kind of dull. Like, nothing felt like it had any meaning. And when I was 7 years old, little 7-year-old Lindsay, I saw all my friends go and get baptized, and I was like, maybe I should do that. So I just said I got saved. Like, I prayed a little prayer or whatever, but I had no clue what being saved actually was. And then I talked to Miss Jennifer, and do y'all remember the ABCs of getting saved or whatever? Do y'all remember that? I can't remember what the words were. But she went over those with me, and I was like, yep, did that. I did not. And I had no clue that I actually didn't. Like, I thought I was saved, and I had Jesus, and I was all good. But then I was just at church on a Sunday night, and Brandon was talking, and I was just kind of listening, and it didn't really stand out to me right then. But then I went home, and a couple days later, I think I was just laying in my bed thinking about it, and God just really spoke to me, and he said, like, you need to get saved. Like, you don't really have salvation. Like, you think you do, but you don't. So that night, I thought about it a lot, and I don't remember really much about it, but I just remember getting saved and, like, knowing that I had Jesus, and, like, I had that peace in me, and it felt so much better. And then I actually thought that I was not going to get baptized. I was like, nope, not going to do it. Already did it once. We're good. Nobody has to know. But then that Wednesday, Brandon started talking about Baptism Sunday, which was that thing we did a couple years ago, where a lot of people got baptized on the same day, and I was like, oh wow, God's really trying to talk to me here. So I told my mom that night after life group, and that happened. And after, I'm gonna say, like, my life got a lot harder right after I got saved. Like, I got saved in maybe September, and then by December things really started going downhill. But it's just, my life now is so much better, and I enjoy things so much more, and I feel so much happier, and I feel like so much more fulfilled now that I have Christ, even though things have gotten a lot harder, because it's like, yes, things necessarily aren't always butterflies and rainbows, but I have God to get me through kind of the valleys, like Hannah said, and he's there in the valley as much as he is on the top of the mountain, and I know that, and that's something I didn't have before, and something that just makes life so much better, and I have no clue how I ever lived without it. Thank you.
Okay. Oh goodness. Okay. I came up here not scared at all, and now I'm scared. Okay. So last week I got baptized and I shared my testimony. So a few people in here already know it, but I'm just going to talk about it again for those who don't know. So how I met Christ. I want to say, like Brandon said, I wasn't a drug dealer. I wasn't a bad kid. I was a good kid. Straight A's, didn't get in trouble or anything. And then I got to high school. And high school was a really rough time for me. I would say, especially in 9th grade, that was whenever everything started for me. I dealt with so much insecurity and so much comparison, and I think that's something a lot of high school girls, can relate to. It's hard. High school is a really difficult time in a girl's life, and for a boy's life too. And I just dealt with, a girl could post something on Instagram, and I'd scroll through my feed, and I'd see it, and I would sit there and analyze that picture, and compare our differences and be like, oh, well, you know, she's so much skinnier than me, or her hair is prettier than mine, or whatever. Like, whatever it was, you know, I would just spot out whatever she had that I thought at the time was better than me. And is my voice shaky? I feel kind of shaky. Okay. And at the time, I didn't realize how much happier I could have been if I just found my identity in Christ. But at the time, I didn't know that. And so I dealt with that at the beginning of 9th grade. I went all the way through 9th grade, feeling like that, all the way through the summer, and then 10th grade, sophomore, and let's see, August, I was still like that. I think in September, I came here. This is my first time ever coming here on a Sunday to watch somebody else's baptism. And he was talking about, there's like 3 people, I think, actually got baptized, and they were all sharing their testimony. And I was like, I don't think that's where I'm supposed to be. And I could really feel God moving in my heart, telling me that I need to make some serious changes. And so I came home, I ate, and I came home. I'm telling you all the details. I came home, I texted my pastor at the time, because at the time I went to a different church, and I told him that I just wasn't where I needed to be. I was dealing with a lot of stuff. I was super stressed with school, overwhelmed, and I needed to move from where I was at. I felt God, in my heart. And so I met with him and I talked to him. I told y'all I told him everything I'm telling y'all. And that's how I got saved. And since I got saved, after I got saved, I was super emotional. Like I cried a lot. Happy tears, sad tears, everything. I was super emotional. But I took the steps after I got saved. I read my Bible, which is super important. I made a point to start coming to Wednesday night church, and I just took the steps, and I started each day I started growing stronger in my faith. And it hasn't been perfect, like Brandon said. It's not going to be perfect, but now I don't have to deal with that insecurity and the comparison that I used to deal with at one point, because I found my identity in Christ, and I know that I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. And okay, I think that's all.
I'm gonna spit my gum out really fast, or I'm gonna be smacking. Okay, so this right here makes me really nervous. I'm not gonna grow. So there's something that I haven't really talked about. So let's just start from the beginning. So when I was in 6th grade, I prayed the prayer. Sarah Norman, as many of you older people know, she was my life group leader at the time. I just really felt like I didn't know Christ. I was just kind of like, okay, yeah, I'm going to pray this prayer. I'm going to get saved. So then on my birthday, March 12th, the birthday after that, I don't know how many years ago, I was in 6th grade, I got baptized. Well, since then, I never really knew Christ. And I'm just going to be real. I have always kind of had this idea of, yeah, I'm a Christian. I come to church. I'm a good kid. I do all the right things. I say the right things. I know how to pray. I can read my Bible. But it's always been very superficial and surface level. I never really got very deep. I never really knew the power of Christ. One thing I struggle with is I'm a control freak. As many of you know, I like control, I like to know, I like everything. Parker Todd is shaking his head. Yes, so that's one thing. In my life, it's so chaotic. And so I've always thought, I have to have control over every single thing, every single moment. I need to have control. This situation, this leadership position, this and this is my family. I have to have control, and I've never really had real peace. I've always prayed to God, give me the peace, give me your eyes, give me all of this. And I recently, since G3, I've been praying, God, restore the joy of my salvation. How can God restore something you never had? So after Easter Sunday, this past Easter, a few weeks ago, it kind of hit me. how are you going to sit here and say that Jesus is powerful and Jesus is who he is if you haven't fully surrendered your life to him? So I was like, okay, God, I'm going to wrestle with you and I'm going to say, show me. If I haven't given you my salvation, if I don't trust you 100% with my life, show me. Prove to me that I haven't given myself to you. And on the way to our Sheridan soccer game, I am sitting there, I'm listening to Christ is Risen, and I see a Facebook post from one of my friends. She had just gotten saved, and part of the Facebook post it said, I'd grown up in church, I was a Christian, but I was only 99% sure. Is that 1% really worth going to hell over? And I was like, I've been doubting. I don't know, and I can't recall. I know I prayed the prayer, but was I authentic? Did I mean it? So then Brandon comes up here and says, earlier, oh, that's not mine. Mine's somewhere. He says, be genuine. And so after I read that Facebook post and after I'm listening to my worship song, Christ is Risen, the story of Easter, I said, okay, this is it. This is your moment. The next moment's not promised. If you wait, what is the devil going to do with that waiting? And so I said, okay, God, I know the prayer, and I'm not going to recite this whole prayer of salvation, Lord. I'm just going to trust you. I'm giving my life to you wholeheartedly. And let me just tell y'all, this sense of peace that I have felt is undescribable. I can finally stand here and say, I 100% trust Christ with my life. And that's just been since this past week. And I texted Brandon earlier. I was like, this has been on my heart. I have only talked to my life group leader about it. I haven't even talked to you about it. I haven't had a time to sit down and tell you about it. I was going to talk to you tonight. Then I show up and I'm like, oh no, it's testimony night. What is my testimony? Am I going to get up here and say some superficial, I prayed the prayer in 6th grade, and when in all actuality, I didn't actually mean it. I thought I did, but how can you say a prayer of salvation when you don't let go control? So I'm standing here publicly saying that I have officially 100% trusted Christ in my life, and I have received wholeheartedly 100% salvation. Since, thank you. So with that being said, the one thing that I've always held on to is this verse. And now in the past week, it's meant so much more to my life. It's my life verse. And so I'm going to read it to you and just kind of, you can take it how you want it. So it's Isaiah 40, 29 through 31. It says, he gives power to the weak and strength to the powerless. Even youths will become weak and tired, and young men will fall in exhaustion. But those who trust in the Lord will find new strength. They will soar high on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not faint. In the past few days, since all this has happened, I have always kind of struggled with, like I said, control. We've already been over this piece. We've already been over that. And just strength. I do so much, and I've always just kind of felt weak. I've always felt like, okay, how am I going to keep doing this? How am I going to keep doing this? I'm tired, Lord. How am I going to sit here and read my Bible? And it's just given a whole new meaning now that I actually know Christ. And this verse, it means so much more to me. And so not only do I challenge you to come up here and share your authentic testimony, and if you don't have one, is that 1% worth it? And so I challenge you, be authentic, be genuine, because God can look past this face. I can put up a front in front of all of you, but God looks way further than that, and he is not superficial, and he is not surface level, and it's time to get real, and so, yeah, thank you. I feel like, okay, thank you. Okay, bye.
Hello? Can you hear me? Am I good? Okay, so Reese kind of made me come up, not really made me come up here, but like hers was super recent and mine was super recent, so I was like, you know what, it's time. So
This might be a little bit not truthful, but I can't remember. But I'm pretty sure me, Lindsay, and Reese all got baptized on the same day that baptism Sunday. I'm like 95% sure we all did. If not, sorry. But it was a bunch of us, basically. And so, basically, I did the same thing. Basically, everybody has come up here and said, hey, my friends are doing this. I think I should do it. I've grown up in church. My parents believe. My whole family does. So I was just kind of like, it's my time. I don't want to lie to them. Well, I lied to them. And I got baptized, and it wasn't genuine. And I just felt like I didn't have a purpose. Like, there was no reason to do what I do if I'm not doing it for someone. Like, it was just kind of like going through the motions and having no reward for it. And then a couple weeks ago at the spring worship service, I was sitting there, we were all just singing, and then I looked over at Reese, and she's like, are you okay? And I was like bawling my eyes out. I was literally like busting out in tears, and everybody was like, are you okay? And of course, I sat on the second row. So as soon as I went around to talk to Brandon, everyone and their mother was looking at me. And I was like, I need tissues. And so I got tissues, and I was just kind of like, I've just been doubting it since 7th grade. And that's just crazy that I was just on the fence for that long and thinking that I had met Christ, but I really didn't. And I know it's only been 3 weeks, but honestly, I can tell you that I have a purpose now. I'm so busy with sports and senior year and senior games, but I feel like now it's not everything that I've ever dreamed of, 100% happy. I'm just never been sad since, and I promise you I've been very emotional. I've been the happy tears, the sad tears, the anything tears, and but I honestly feel like I have a purpose and I'm not lost anymore, and I have people to talk to and all that. So. But I have one verse. It was kind of my life verse before I met Christ, but then I was actually meant it now. And it's Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. And really emphasis on plans to give you hope and a future. Because if you don't have Jesus, there's no future. There's a future, but whether you believe it or not, your future's going to end one day. I know that's scary, but it's the truth, and sometimes you just have to get the truth. So, that's all.
Let's talk. So, hey guys, what's up? Okay, so this is gonna be kind of awkward because I'm just a little awkward sometimes, but it's fine. Anyways, so, okay, I'm gonna try and do this in, how it makes sense. So, before Christ, I mean, it was fine. I mean, I never really felt like I was just living to my fullest, if that makes sense. But I had always grown up in church. It was always such a big part of me being little. So when I turned 7, it was the day after my 7th birthday, I got baptized. But this always sticks in my head. So my mom told me that day, she was like, just because you get baptized doesn't mean you're going to heaven. And I was like, yeah, okay, I got it. So I got baptized, and it was all happy, and it was all good. And then life just went on. But I remember I was about 8, and there was this new dance teacher who came to our studio. Her name was Miss Amanda, and she is so she's just such. I don't know. She's the best person ever. She's my favorite. Yeah. And so she came, and she would always talk about Jesus, and I was always just yeah, that's cool, I guess. Yeah. And I just kind of sit there, and I gave her a really hard time, which I feel really bad about now, but it's okay. She knows I love her. So anyways, when I got to middle school, 6th grade was just not a good year. It was just, I felt lost. I felt like I was searching for something, but I didn't have a flashlight. Like, if that makes sense. Like, I was in a dark, yeah. Okay, and then, so, I started going to church. Well, my best friend Lindsay, see, she's gone here a long time, you know that. But, so, she just would always mention it. And so, I just started listening. I was like, well, can't beat them, join them. So, I started coming, and I started coming with one of my friends. And we kind of came, and we were just kind of like, oh, yeah, you know, there's a couple boys, and, you know, all our friends go here, so why not? So, we started coming. And then we signed up for church camp. And I'll never forget this. It was the last night, I think. Yeah, it was the last night. And so, it was the last night. And they were playing a really sad song. I don't know what it was. It was so sad. Like, I was bawling. Like, we all had a little hug circle. It was that bad. And, well, it wasn't bad. It was just emotional. And so, all the life group leaders lined up by the room. And so, I went to Miss Elizabeth. It was like, I think I was like the last one, actually. But I went to Miss Elizabeth because she's always been like my second one. So, I was just like, oh, well. So, I just went. And, yeah, I almost fell over a chair. But it's okay. I still got there. So anyways, I get there and I just talk to her. And I just talk and we talk. And she gave me this hug. And I started crying. And then I just told her. And then she was like, okay. And then we said a little prayer. And then everything was fine. Well, not everything. But, you know, it was done. And then, but after that, I don't know. It felt like it felt like I was carrying something that, like, I didn't need to carry. But it was there. So, like, by doing that, it gave me a sense of fulfillment. I think that's the word.
Fulfillment.
Whatever. Same thing. Okay, you get the point. Okay, just because I didn't use that word, you get it. Okay. But yeah, it gave me the best feeling ever, and things still aren't perfect, but nothing really is. But I'm just very thankful for Lindsay and for Miss Amanda. And, like, it's so weird because, like, I never would have thought that they could have made such a big impact, but they really did. And, yeah, that's all.
Okay, so I kind of have a pretty, like, before Christ, I was a bad kid, I'm not gonna lie. I was a kid that I wasn't necessarily bad on it, I was selling drugs, I was just an evil to my parents kind of kid. I'm not gonna lie. Okay, in all fairness, I had a medical reason, diabetes, it can really cause you to have some really hard to control emotions. So there's that. And whenever I was diagnosed, I was 4. So at that point, that's whenever I learned hope. Because after that point, at that point you learn that you have to hope for a cure, because it's something that affects me every day, every night, and never stops. Doesn't ever give me a break. I mean, it's something that also had to make me learn to give up control. Because whenever you're at that point, you don't have control of what everyone else around you does. My mom, my dad, my sister, my friends, all of them have control over something I never did. So I feel like at that point, that was when I was 4, and I think by the time I was 7, I remember talking to my mom in the bathroom while she was doing my hair, and I remember her saying, and I remember asking, what is a Christian? And then, you know, she told me it's someone who has, like, a relationship with God and believes that Jesus rose from the dead. And I said, I believe that. And then, not long after that, I was baptized. That was forever ago. So, now, I'm a Christian. But after that point, whenever, I don't feel like I was really tested because I was so young until I was older, until till little Oakley was born. Because at that point, the world stopped.
we stopped doing everything after that last softball season that I had. That last softball season meant I stopped going to church, I stopped doing karate, I stopped doing softball. All my friends I lost because I didn't have a phone, I didn't text them, I didn't call anyone, didn't text anyone. And at that point, that happened for a couple years, honestly, and it was painful. I had no one to go to. I had my mom and my dad, and at that point, I was just so alone, it felt like. But at one point, I started talking to my mom. It was just like I had drifted so far from God that I just felt so alone, and it wasn't right. Nothing felt right. Didn't feel much. And at that point, I remember talking to my mom, and she helped me with it. She helped me learn, it's gonna be okay. But at some point, it didn't feel quite hopeless through all of that. Like, there was something there that I knew about. Because, let me tell you this, when I was told whenever I was 4, whenever I was diagnosed, there's gonna be a cure in 10 years, it's been 13. It kind of feels hopeless to hope for a cure. But it doesn't feel hopeless to hope for Jesus. And that's what I wanted to say. There's never going to be a time whenever you're alone with Jesus, because Jesus got you. Even if you're hurting so deeply and you feel so alone, you can still have someone with you. You still have Jesus, no matter what. Because even when everything else is gone, your foundation can still be there. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
So, to start off, the first time that I got saved, and I say saved because, with quotations around it, because you get saved once, and sometimes you think that you're saved, but you're really not. We've heard that a lot tonight. That's happened to people before. So when I was in 3rd grade, one of my closest friends was Anna Parker. Anna Parker got saved in the 3rd grade, and I thought because she got saved in the 3rd grade that I had to. We were at church camp. We're doing our little thing. How old are you in 8th grade? 3rd grade, 9? Little 9-year-old Brooke wants to be just like everybody else. She's got a fear of being left out. Still got one of those, actually. And so I wanted to be saved. I went to, don't really remember who I talked to that night. I think it was one of the life leaders at the church camp. And we sat outside and we discussed what was going to happen, and then I said I was saved. I prayed the prayer. When maybe it was 4th grade, I got baptized. A couple years go by, I'm baptized, I'm saved, and it's 6th grade. We're starting middle school, starting a new chapter. You're scared. You've never been to a school. All these new people from all these different schools are coming together you've never met before in your life. And that's when I realized that I wasn't being truthful. I wasn't being genuine, and I knew that. I knew that for a while, but it took me a minute to realize it. And so when I did realize, I talked to Jesse Blevins. It was actually a Wednesday night, and we went in a broom closet. For what reason, I don't know. But I talked to her. It was a good 40 minutes. We just talked about life and new chapters in life, things that that you'll experience. And what Hannah talked about earlier, the little, I think it's a circle packet, not a circle packet. Yeah, and it's got a picture, and it's this is your life before, and then Jesus is the bridge, and that's your life after. I got one of those. I think I still have it in my room somewhere. And so I was saved that night. I never got rebaptized because I don't think I did.
Okay, now I've got other things on my mind. Anyways, I got saved in the 6th grade, for real this time. Okay, now I'm going to tell you a little story. So, y'all are going to think I'm weird, but when I was little, I used to think about death a lot. Not in like a, I'm going to murder you type of way, but in like a, what is death? What happens after death? Where do you go? And I always knew that after death, you go to heaven or you go to hell. That was what happens. But what was heaven? What happens in heaven? Like you die and it's like an eternal nap. What happens after? What do you see? Because when you're on earth, you hear miracles about Jesus and stuff and what he's done and what you might experience, but nobody really knows what happens in heaven because you've never experienced it firsthand. And that's kind of where faith comes into. Faith and hope, like Rose said. You have to have faith that whatever you believe, whatever you trust in, you have to go with. And so, where was I going with that? So I believe that I'm a Christian. I believe in the Christian faith, and I believe everything about Jesus. And so I believe that there is a heaven, and I believe that I want to be in heaven. So I have to put my faith into something that I may not 100% know is true, and that's kind of where doubt comes into sometimes. But yeah. I was saved in 6th grade. Now I have faith, and I think I'm going to go to heaven. So there's that.
Hello, my name's Anna. My life before Christ, nothing really bad happened. I was younger, and when I was about 9, I remember just feeling absolutely horrible one day before school. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what was wrong with me. My brother's way older than me, and he was going to college, so I thought maybe I'm really sad because my brother's going to leave me. I'm little. But that wasn't it. And I went, thank the Lord, I had the best principal at Gandy because my mom called them and they were like, that's fine, she needs to go see her pastor. So I had so much support behind me. And I went and talked to my youth pastor. And I was a confused child anyway because I was lost. And I went and talked to him and I just got more confused because I was questioning everything. Well, that next year, I was saved in a church service on a Sunday morning, and I was sitting in the middle pew on the 4th row. And I remember that because that was the rest of my life started then. Because an older woman in our church was singing, and it just felt like that it was the only thing in the room. It was just me. There was nobody around me, and I know my dad was sitting next to me, but it felt like it was just me and God talking through that song, and I bowed my head and I prayed right then, and that was the best day of my life right then, because for about 6 months after that, I wouldn't shut up talking about God to anybody for any reason. Even if it had nothing to do with that person and I didn't know that person, I was talking. But I met Christ that day through the song because music is a very big part of my life, and it just felt like they were speaking to me right then because I knew I was lost and I'd known for a year, I just didn't know what to do. And that song was the leading part of my salvation that day. My life after Christ, it's not been anything perfect. It's been quite messy, actually. The past 2 years have been hard for everyone, and I'm just glad that I have God through that, because without him, I don't know what I would have done. I lost my grandmother, and she was like the foundation of our family a few years ago, and I'm just so, she died and she went to heaven because she was a saved woman of God, and I know that, but I'm so glad that through my life, these people that I have lost have given me a piece of their life through Christ, And I've gotten to see that, and I'm so thankful that through other people's experiences that they have helped lead me to Christ, and that I now know that, and I am saved, and that I can help lead other people to Christ the same way. But that's about it.
Alright, so I'm going to talk about my life a little bit before Christ. I always grew up in church. That's what we always did. We went to church every Sunday, every Wednesday. So before I was saved when I was 8. So I didn't really worry about anything. Like, the things I would worry about is when's my next baseball game, when's my next basketball game, what snacks are we getting after the game, what are we eating, the important stuff. So, used to be, we would baptize people in the baptistry back here. And after potluck, we would come, and the whole church family would, watch them get baptized. And then everybody would go crazy after they got baptized. And I remember I was sitting, probably right here, but probably Zane or Gage or one of them. And everybody went crazy after somebody got baptized. And I'm like, what is this about? They just got, what's going on? So after that, I talked to my mom, and I was like, what's going on? So she talked to me about what Jesus did for us, and how he saved us, and why that's a big deal. So I was like, okay, well, obviously I want to do that. That's something I need to do. So my mom was like, okay, we'll go and talk to Brother Jim about, she didn't want me to, okay, my mom told me to do this. This is what I do because my mom told me to do this, and if I don't, then you don't do what, if Mama Susan tells you to do something, you do it. So we talked to Brother Jim, and I really understood, and it was something I really needed to do. So I got saved, and I got baptized. And then it was when I was, I think, 8 maybe. So I get older, and I was 8, so I didn't bear any fruit. I wasn't going and talking to people about Jesus. I wasn't sharing my faith until I probably never really shared my faith until 8th grade, 9th grade, something like that. Probably our first time going to Mission Arlington. And then I could grow in my faith. And then probably my worst time throughout faith is whenever COVID happened. Used to be every Wednesday night. I'd be here, whatever. But throughout COVID, I stopped. We had the online services. I maybe tuned into one through 2 years. And I'm a type of person that I want to know what I believe. And during COVID, I probably knew the most about God I ever knew, and was so far away from him. I could tell you the answers, I could do everything, but obviously we had a lot of people and stuff with COVID happen, and I was mad at him. Why would God let somebody do that? Why would God take somebody away from us? So, and then, especially people in a life group and everything, why did that happen? So, then COVID dies down or whatever, and we were able to come back to church. And it's really the community of believers that made me not be mad at God. Talking to OG, talking to Mr. Dan about, hey, this happened, and God let it happen, but it wasn't because of God. The devil got to that person. The devil was working in a way that made that happen. And it's still hard. It's still not always mountains. It's valleys, but that's how it goes.
Awesome, Greg. couldn't let Greg, be the only dude to come up here. So I'm gonna sit down because now I'm gonna start walking in circles and I'm gonna start talking in circles and it's gonna be bad. I'd be lying if I said that I had this perfect, walk with Christ. Sometimes I feel far from God. Sometimes I know I have God, but sometimes you just feel like you're far away. And I know that God still has a lot of work and a lot of cleaning up to do in my life. And I guess I'll start from the beginning. So I got saved when I was at church camp in the 4th grade. We were at OBU. And I think it was about the 3rd night of church camp. They had an invitation. They played the song, Lord, I Need You. And, just like the song says, it clicked in my head. I was like, Lord, I need you. And I went down, saw this guy. He had long hair. I was like, he looks cool. I'm going to talk to him. I went and talked to him. He ended up being like the drummer in the worship band they had. And instantly, that was a guy talking to me because I like to call myself a musician, So it was like we had a connection already. And I just felt like God really, it was, it happened for a reason. So we talked, he's like, what's up, buddy? I was like, I want to be saved. That was great. And I wasn't the kid that, all my friends were already saved. I wasn't the kid that was like, oh, I'm going to do it because they do it. I was like Connor, Parker, Tucker. I was like, dude, that's stupid. They went in that water. That's dumb. It wasn't me. And so, we talked. I asked Jesus into my heart. And, things didn't change overnight. My life didn't just, get perfect. And I still sin, every day. That's just how it works. But, I got to a point where I feel like I got really far away from God. And then Brother Bob and Brandon and Liam and Brooklyn, everybody, they kept asking me, you should come, you should play in the praise band. And I ran from it. I didn't want to do it. I was like, no, I don't want to do it. And then one day, they're like, Brother Bob told me, he's like, come, just, sit in a practice, you don't have to play, just, come do it. And I did it, and I ended up playing at church that night because, I feel like God has given everybody something that is meant to be used to His glory. And I feel like that was my thing that God gave me to use for Him. And it connected me, and ever since, I've started playing, I've started to grow in my faith. And I'm still far from where I need to be. I'm not going to put a face on it. But, that's just what I want to share, is that I feel like everybody has something that they need to find that's going to help them be where they need to be with God. So, that's all.
So I don't like get in front of people and talk right, so I'm sorry, but let's see. In 2018, I think we had at my old church at Bethany, we had an outdoor kind of service deal, and we sat through it all. It was all good, and there was somebody from other churches came out and talked to us, and then at the end, we were doing a worship deal, and then, everybody was walking to the front, and so I was like, I'm gonna go up there. And so then beside me, somebody was getting saved, and so then I was like, I don't wanna do that. So then whenever they got done, I got the youth pastor there, and I was like, hey, I need to be saved. So then we walked off in the grass, and then I prayed the prayer, and I was like, all is good until I just went about my business, and then a couple years later, well, then I got baptized, but then a couple years after that, after Isaac passed away, I went to a service, and the whole time I knew I wasn't where I needed to be, and if something was happening tomorrow, I wouldn't go to where I need to be. And so then I texted my youth pastor at the time and was like, I need to talk. So he came over after that week. I got home. He came over, and we were on the front porch, and me, my mom, and my dad, and him. And I prayed my prayer, and I knew as soon as after I got done with that, that's where I needed to be. So then, a couple months later, when we joined the church, we asked Brother Paul if I could be baptized a little later on, and so then a little after that, I was baptized, and then, yeah, that's about it.
Before Christ, my life was not good. I did not have a really close relationship with my mom, and I knew who God was, but I knew who He was, but I never went to church or I never worshipped Him. I just knew who He was. And when I was 4 or 5, I went to church with my dad, and we saw a bunch of people getting baptized. And I was like, all they're doing is getting dunked in water. What does this mean? And I talked to my dad about it. My dad wouldn't tell me what it totally meant, but he wanted me to find God first before he told me what it meant. And basically, I came here. I'm shaking so much. And I came here, and I had a group of kids who I hung out with, Brooke and Lily and all them. I hang out with them a lot. So I came here, and during one of the worship services, I felt like God talked to me that night, and I started going to church more. So when we went to church more, well, when we were worshiping that night, God really talked to me. So I went up to a life group leader, and we did the whole she walked me through it, and then I said the prayer, and I got saved. And my life now, after finding Christ, it's still rocky, it's still messy, but it's better. And now that I know Christ, I pray and I can trust in Him more through a lot of other things.
Okay, I do not like talking in front of people. This is, oh my word.
You got this.
You got this.
Woo! Woo!
Okay, my life was not bad at all. I was a good kid, and I just wanted to fit in. Because I'm sorry. Okay. I wanted to fit in, and I thought that I had to be a queer Christian to fit into certain friends. And so I went to a church camp, and they told me to say this prayer, and I'm automatically saved. So I said a prayer that was not true at all. So I thought I was saved after that. And then I came home, I was like, oh my word, I'm saved and I have all these new friends now. And then they turn their back on me. And then I figure out
to be saved to be in a friend group. Thank you. Anyways, I started going to Bethany, and I found so many new friends. And then I went to a church camp. And they were so nice to me. I learned so many new things. And then a year later, we went back and I got saved. And oh my word, it was the best feeling of my life. It was like a whole weight lifted off my shoulders because I know that God loved me no matter what. And it didn't have to be a certain person that loved me or that cared for me or that said that they were my friend, but they really weren't and just judged me. And then whenever I met God, I figured out that I'm perfect in His eyes, so what do those people have to do in my life? Amen. So then I got saved and baptized, and I was so happy that now I can love myself without having those friends knocking me down. And I just wanted to say that it is okay to let those people go.
Hey, you guys did amazing tonight. It was awesome. Never ever get on to me for going over. Y'all are 15 minutes over. Okay?